Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Alright, so Frank Warren's deal with TNT runs out next year. And he's right now finalizing a deal with Dazn to take Queensberry over to Dazn. Deal will be finalized in the next couple of weeks. I've heard Frank saying he's planning to do shows in America right now. The Brits, British promoters are all on this global game right now. That's what they're on. They're on the global game. I'm still trying to get my head around it. Frank Warren on Dazn with Eddie Hearn. The possibilities are endless, I'm guessing right now. I'm guessing Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury impending, regardless of the results of their next fights. I'm not even saying that TNT will be cut out of the loop. No, they'll still play a vital part in broadcasting these events. I don't know if they're going to get a new promoter. I don't think they're going to abandon boxing. There's too much money in it right now with the Arabs involved. I hope that's not a disrespectful way of describing them. Obviously, DAZN are going to give Frank a way bigger budget than what he's getting now. And basically, he's not going over there to be rivals with Eddie. They'll be working together. There won't be a fight between a Matchroom fighter and a Queensberry fighter that we won't be able to get. Still trying to get my head around it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saudis are involved in this move, in conjunction with the Super League for next year. But you have to think, Boxer, Sky and TNT are going to be so out their depth competing with Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn next year. So out their depth. Will Boxer end up on DAZN as well? Because Ben Shalom's contract is up soon as well. Because he'll basically be a bit player. I tell you what, man, the next couple of years for British boxing is like perhaps the most interesting I remember it being. And I'm not exaggerating. So basically, looking at this Talk Sport article, it will essentially make DAZN the app and the home of UK boxing. It has previously chosen to strike sub-licensing TV deals with both TNT and Sky to maximize the profile and revenue of pay-per-view fights involving Joshua and Fury in Saudi Arabia over the past year. The recent influx of Saudi riches into boxing has seen Hearn and Warren set aside their differences to ensure they maximize the lucrative opportunities in Riyadh. So, it was wishful thinking what I was saying that TNT will still be involved in the broadcasting of these events. No, they're going to get squeezed out. Matchroom versus Queensberry, they don't want to give TNT the money. They want it all there. They don't want to give Sky a share of the pay-per-view revenue. They want it all on their platform. I mean, who was Sky really bringing to the table in terms of attraction? It's a monopoly. It's definitely a monopoly. Unbelievable. But before you start cheesing and grinning too much, subscriptions will be going up. I predict that. I mean, for British fans, it's going to be like a machine. There's going to be a good domestic card on probably every week. And then you've got the Saudi, Riyadh season, MSG, and whatever other territories are going to get in on the action. It's going to be a lot of pay-per-view. It's crazy. It's crazy right now. It's crazy. You're just wondering what the next big development is going to be. And the thing is, it's coming. It's coming.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Lomachenko is not in the mood. He doesn't have the motivation to take the Gervonta Davis fight. He wants to spend more time with the family. He doesn't want to do anything till the end of the year. You can offer him tens of millions of dollars. If he doesn't have the motivation, he's not ready to prepare for the fight. Yeah, he was so disappointed last year after he was robbed against Devin Haney. He had to take the whole of the year out and he couldn't fight Shakur Stevenson. Then he came back this year and beat George Kambosos, coming off 2 losses to Devin Haney and a moody decision over Maxie Hughes, and took one of the vacant straps from him. They actually tried to say that Tank priced himself out and that's why Lomachenko's not taking the fight. But this is the truth, isn't it? You know what I mean? This is the truth. This is the real deal. Anyone really surprised? All the tough fights Lomachenko's been in, he loses his shape, starts winging, swinging, panicking, missing a whole load of punches that people are convinced are connecting. Against Salido and Devin, his fans scream robbery. He starts crying and whinging. Not really shocked he doesn't want the Tank fight. just come at the wrong time for him as well, innit? Just at the wrong time. He hasn't got the legs to keep away from Tank's lethal left uppercuts and hooks. So from what Igis Klimas is saying, perhaps at the end of the year, hopefully by that time he's finished downloading data from the Teofimo Lopez fight. I actually thought he could beat Tank for a little while, you know. I actually did, but I'm starting to look at him a little differently as a fighter. Like, what are his best wins in hindsight now? Which one of his best wins have really appreciated today that you can say, yeah, that was something? Probably the Jamaican Walters, but probably Walters, Nicholas Walters. So how did this go down? They was in the middle of negotiations, but it seems like when it got real, when pen to paper had to get signed, the Muhammad Ali level of greatness Lomachenko didn't want no parts of it. All these years he's running his mouth saying Gervonta Davis didn't want to fight. I know I got a lot of Lomachenko fans who sub to me, but let's have to keep it real. That's two ducks in a couple of years. Shakur and now Tank. I have to call it as it is. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. You know what I mean? And apparently he's not in the mood.
Are you in the mood, baby?
Kenny Ellis, Tank Davis's assistant coach. If Lomachenko is not motivated by the chance of being the face of boxing, he needs to hang his gloves up. His team need to hang his gloves up somewhere where he can never reach them again. The Lomachenko protection unit, and that's what they are saying Tank only wants to fight Lomachenko now because he's 36. Alright, well, let me respond to that. Your damage control is feeble and pathetic as much as they themselves are. So weak-minded individuals who try to talk strong, that's who they are. The bottom line is, Lomachenko has avoided, arguably, the two relevant 135-pounders with titles, Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis, to fight George Kambosos and basically skim some money off the fanboys. Lomachenko and his fanboys would have a case to say, well, Gervonta Davis kept us hanging around too long, we're not taking the fight. Well, what's your reasoning for not taking the Shakur Stevenson fight then? He didn't leave you hanging around. And there's a pattern developing where he's getting out of fights. And if I'm being fair and being honest, I don't give a shit that Tank can't get the fight. Serves him right. He's been ducking smoke for a long time. Him and Lomachenko. They've been ducking smoke for a long time. They deserve not to fight each other. I don't give a shit about that fight. If it don't happen, you think I give a shit? I don't give a shit. The last pathetic excuse for Loma. Yeah, Loma is taking time off until the end of the year because that's when the fight would happen anyway.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
2019 was Scott FITZGERALD's breakout year. Had a great fight with Anthony Fowler. Floored Fowler in the last round. Took a UD. Then he took the British title of Ted Cheeseman at 154. Then it went off the rails, you know what I mean? Like, you've heard most of the stories. Getting in fights, sleeping on the floor, outside pubs, drug binges, alcohol probably involved. Came back in 2021 on a Matchroom card with a third round stoppage against a selected opponent. And Matchroom, 2019 had high hopes for Scott FITZGERALD. He's very popular with the fans, exciting style, British champion. Where did it all go wrong? Just a month ago, he was back in the gym. He looked to be in pretty good shape, in good spirits. He said he was down to 12 stone. In 6 or 8 weeks' time, he was ready to get back in the ring and fight. Now the citizens of Lancashire are told not to approach Scott FITZGERALD. They're saying wounding with intent is the charge.
999, this is an emergency. 999.
Do not approach. If you see him, dial 999. It looks like he's on the run. Description, 5'9", stocky, brown hair. Apparently that upset someone on his Facebook page or him himself. And he replied and said, "I'll meet you now with a tape measure and prove I'm 5'11". Making jokes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
So Peter Fury was on Carl Froch's YouTube channel, Froch on Fighting. Peter says he's an avid believer. One man should give the instructions, whether it be who is the trainer there. So if his dad is the trainer, let his dad do the talking. If the other guy is the trainer from America, let him do the talking. But when 3 or 4 are talking, how are you going to listen to all of that? I don't think he listened to any of it anyway. So he's doubling down on what he said already. He let his feelings known on the unprofessionalism of the corner on October Red's channel. There didn't seem to be no professionalism in that corner, as far as one clear voice stating what he needed to do. If you're tired and you're in the late stages of a fight and you've got a man in front of you, you're trailing that fight and you know you've been hurt badly and you need to come back from that. You've got all that to deal with and you've got 4 people trying to talk to you. I'm afraid that's not happening. It's a great point. It's got enough stress to deal with in the ring. And it's all about stress management, isn't it? Like good coaching as much as technical advice. Just like your fighter has to take the fight round by round with whatever obstacles his opponent may bring, the corner has to do the same. The corner have to find a way that they all work in tandem, that they don't overshout, overtalk each other, that one is sponging the fighter down with water, giving him something to drink, tending the cuts. Somebody is going to give him the hairdryer and blast him in his ear what he needs to do. And then it might be the more lower tone, calmer approach. I think before the fight, they have to prep just like the boxer. They have to strategize how this corner works. Go for as much stress situations and potential obstacles you might encounter in the fight. It's like a pit stop, isn't it? It's basically like a pit stop. And I think a more meticulous approach is needed from a lot of corners. There are some more meticulous than others. But obviously, Tyson Fury's in the biggest fight of his careers was all about the play. How did that happen? But yeah, there's a lot of corners who leave it to chance. Okay, we'll just get to the arena, to the venue, and you're the chief second, so you should be in charge. But then someone ends up talking over him. Then it becomes a whole ball of confusion. And they need to be more disciplined as a team when they go in there, that doesn't happen. No matter how much stress the fighter or the corner is under, that doesn't happen. Obviously, this is boxing. You're going to have a lots of random moments because you don't know what's going to happen. Your fighter comes back to the corner after a heavy knockdown, a bad cut. So you're going to get a lot of random situations. But if you can eliminate as much randoms as possible, to have some type of system. Because against Usyk, I think the second AJ fight, there was confusion in the corner, wasn't there? Like over talking. Can't have that. You've got to be meticulous on this one. Other fighters, you might get away with it and get the W. I wonder if Peter is actually auditioning to get back in the squad. That's too much water passed under the bridge. I always hear that saying. I don't really know what it means. It sounds good. Are Tyson and Uncle Peter too proud to reach out to each other? Will John Fury try and get in the way? Has that time passed when they had that connection? Went to Dusseldorf 9 years ago, pulled off that big upset against Klitschko, which is actually their last fight they had together. September the 21st is going to be very interesting fight. And I've been thinking about Don Charles and Daniel's dad. Daniel's dad seems to give Daniel a little extra something, and Don seems to be a coach that Daniel is responding to. And he's in the form of his life. But then again, AJ probably looking hotter than he's ever looked as well. With Ben Davison and Lee Wiley. Is Joe Joyce going to have Salas back for the Derek Chisora fight? Because he looked awful against Cash Alley. And you can put that down to he was just coming back off the 2 losses to Zhang. If Joyce loses to Chisora or makes the fight too tough, people are going to be looking at Steve Broughton and say, yo, he's too inexperienced, isn't he? What's he doing there?
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Because we haven't seen much of you, James, at all in the spotlight. You've been absolutely absent, haven't you?
D-Lo.
Yeah.
Like, literally D-Lo. Past 6 years, I've just been chilling, enjoying retirement. No pressure from boxing, training, sparring. And I've been training. I've kept up with training. I still train a lot, strength and boxing, but I've just been enjoying retirement. And that's what I did say. I did say when I was when I did retire, I said, I'm gone. No one's going to hear from me anymore. And I have.
James DEGALE finally resurfaces in public. DEGALE actually did George Grove's podcast with him. And he's just chilling, he's training, he looks in very good shape. Talking about him and George possibly having a third fight. George is beating him 2-0. He beat him in the amateurs, an Olympic qualifier, although James still went to Beijing and won a medal. Beat that Cuban. Controversial decision. And then they met in the pros early in both their careers before they won world titles. And Groves took a narrow decision. I thought DEGALE won that fight. They had a bitter rivalry. They was at the same amateur club in Grenfell, West London, where that fire took place and burnt down that tower and took down the amateur club too. There was a genuine dislike for each other when they were pros, but, you know, they seem to be getting on there, you know. They're in their mid to late 30s. They're still going at each other, you know what I mean? Don't get that twisted.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
JUNTO NAKATANI stopped Vincent Astrolabio in one round defending his WBC bantamweight title. One left to the body, did it. It was quick. It was brief and it was over. Not really much to say on that one. Astrolabio, he didn't see the punch coming, and they're the ones that do damage, you know what I mean? And he had no defense to it at all. A lot of people are raving over the win. I'm not sure how good the challenger was, in all truth. He beat an old Rigondeaux, it says here, and gave Jason Maloney a decent fight, but, you know, he did what he had to do.